Hi everyone, Mark Mullen from Tibco here. Today I'm going to be walking you through using Spotfire with Simplr. So here's Simplr. This is our automation platform for automating business processes. It works via creating flows, sort of like if this then that, but for enterprise businesses. So we're going to be using a simple dashboard. So in this instance, it's going to be this sales data example. And then I'm going to show you what you can do with Simplr. So let's just utilize one of these flows. So just to clarify, we have two different options here. And Simplr recommends that you have this 1, 2, 3 tutorial. The first being create a form to gather the information you need. And what that would be able to do is if you had a requirement for filling in or getting customers, internal staff, clients, pretty much anyone, to fill in data that you then need to, let's just say, report on or keep stored somewhere locally or in the cloud, you'd be able to utilize the form aspect to, one, provide a repository for that information, but two, you'd be able to use it as an event trigger to start this flow. So I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. So let me just open up a new flow. Great. Let's just rename this test flow. What you can see here on the left is a lot of our connections. So these are where we're able to link applications together to form a flow. So it goes from one to the next after certain tasks have been completed. The main trigger for starting off these flows is a timer trigger. So this really plays into our automating aspect, but also it plays into our form aspect as well if you require them to be used. So I can schedule my timer trigger to be an on-demand trigger or a repeating trigger. So if I had this as repeating, I could have this as little as 5 minutes in between each refresh, or maximum I can have here every year if I wish. But in this instance, let's just put it as every five minutes. And what that will mean is every 5 minutes, this flow will begin. So let's just say I have a Google Sheet. I can just drag and drop it. It's nice and intuitive. I can pick my account, so I can just add my account here. At drive.google.com. Put in my Tibco account details. Good. Thanks for letting me know. And then I can allow it to come in. And then when I do that, I can make it do a couple of things. So I can make it get rows, so pull the information. I can have it get added to the rows within the spreadsheet already. I can make it create a worksheet, create a spreadsheet, whichever I wish. So in this instance, I'm going to make it get the rows. So get the rows from a certain spreadsheet. So I'm just going to filter down to sales data. And then I think there's only one worksheet. Good. Of course, I'm sure your examples are going to be much more complex. But in this instance, we're going to go from Google Sheet, scroll down on the left, as you can see, plethora of applications to use. I'm just going to drag Tibco Spotfire underneath. And now you can see it says, when Google Sheets Action 1 returns data, using an account, my data Spotfire account, I'm going to be able to choose between these options. So append data, update data, create a new file, or get data. In this instance, these two are the most relevant, the append or update, and I want to update the data. So complete refresh. And then I want to use a certain Spotfire data file. So just focus on this very briefly. So a Spotfire data file, when coming and pulled from Simplr, has to go within a Simplr folder. So the data file itself can feed multiple dashboards, and when we update the data file, in turn we will update the dashboards also, because that's where they're pulling their data from. But this is just a kind of take note. This is part of the help or support if you choose to view it, or you can just follow the instructions I've just mentioned here. So I know that this is sample sales data, and that's the data file for Spotfire. And then you'll see that it says put data from Google Sheets Action 1. It's just saying that there's 2 suggested mappings. As I say, it's not too complex a spreadsheet, so I'm just going to accept all of these. Country and state, great. So now that we've done that, we've essentially got a bit of an automated process. Every 5 minutes we're going to be pulling data from this drive, which could be where we're taking a automated export, and again we could set up an automated export. We could have it being pulled from a Amazon Redshift database, a MySQL, a Microsoft SQL server, and we could then push that data into a Google Sheet if we really wanted. Or ultimately this could be the SQL server itself, and then we could be pulling data every 5 minutes from there and pushing it into Spotfire. So this is how now we've created a bit of an automated workflow. But I kind of want to go one step further, and this is a really good way of driving adoption with a new tool like Spotfire if you're fresh to using it. And that's to use either Gmail, or we can also use Microsoft Outlook, pretty much the 2 most common emailing platforms in the market today. I use Gmail, so I'm going to use Gmail. Then I can make it do something quite cool. So again, when Spotfire's had its data updated using my account, I can now choose to do a few things in Gmail as well. So I can maybe choose to send a message, and using the data, technically it's just now following a process. So although it's saying use data, it's not going to use any data here. Here I would type in the list of relevant users. So in this instance it's really me, but this could be anyone in your company that you might want to CC, or just send it to yourself and BCC everyone. And you can let them know, your latest Spotfire sales dashboard is ready to view. And I have this open here. So if I were to use, let's just say just a link to the analysis. As you can see, I can alter this if I wish, just so that it looks nice and clean. Make it open in a new tab as well. But you could type in any text you want here, just so that whenever that whole trigger goes, this then happens. And this can be really handy if you've got a report that needs to go out every morning or every week to certain people, and you want to have this on an automated basis. This is such a time saver. So now we've saved that, I'll show you what happens next. So I'll just close this. And now I'm presented with this screen here. And on this screen, we can kind of monitor how these flows have run. So you can see here we have the actual flow itself. So every time a time entry goes ahead, it's going to get rows from Google Sheets, update Spotfire, and then send out an email. And I can up here choose to run this on a schedule. I can edit the flow, or I can run it now. So I'm just going to run it once. Quite handy, it says test it before you put it in production. But now it's just going to start the job. And thankfully we'll know when it's happened because I'll get an email. So just going to wait for that to run. It's now saying it started the job. Can just refresh this if I want to be quite persistent. So okay, so it's now getting the rows. Actually, that was in the same second. I've just received the email. So if I just refresh that, it should now say that they succeeded, which it did. And just bear with me 1 second, and I'll just bring up my mail. And as you can see, I've got my lovely email link here that I can click through, go to my Spotfire Cloud page. And there we go. I've got a dashboard just ready to view. And again, 5 minutes time, that'll happen again, annoyingly, but I'm sure you can see the use. So hopefully this was useful. If you do have any questions, please email me. I'll just tap my email address on the screen now. So there's my email address. And I'm Mark Mullen. So please let me know if you need anything, and I hope to be in touch with you soon. Bye-bye.